Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to read a story with you titled A Chair for My Mother. We've read this story before, so I want you to follow along and remember some important tips during the story. This story is by Vera B. Williams, A Chair for My Mother. My mother works as a waitress in a blue tile diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salt and pepper shakers and fill the ketchups. One time, I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I was finished, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. Remember about the jar. It takes a long time to fill this big jar. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all of her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all of the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep when I count the money out into piles. Some days she has lots of tips, some days she has only a little. Then she looks worried. But each and every single evening, the shiny coin goes into the jar. That's a big jar. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and we go into the jar. We cannot get a single other coin into the jar. We are going to take out all of the money and go buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chair burned up. There was a big fire in our house and all of our chairs burned. So did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. That's the chair they want to buy. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes, and I had new sandals. She had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's turnips, and we were saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I like the yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Look at the red tulips and then the yellow tulips. Right outside of our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All of the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's my mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's here. She's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her, but everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of our house was turned to cold and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move to the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow and the floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. First day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and ice cream, and they brought lots of other things too. The families across the street brought a table and 3 chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My grandpa brought us a beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had us made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware and dishes. My cousins brought her old stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandmother made a speech. You are all the kindest people, she said. We thank you very much, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over again. That was the last year, but we still have no sofa, no big chair. When Mama comes home, her hurt feet, there's no good place for me to take a load off my feet, she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can in that hard kitchen chair. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner if all the corn started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift and put down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in the jar. That's a really big jar. After supper, Mama and Grandmother and I stood in front of the jar. Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full, Mama said. My mother brought home a little paper wrappers for us for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my Mother's Day off, we took all of the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for a chair. Those are all the dollar bills that the coins turned into. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs, small ones, high chairs, low chairs, soft chairs, and harder ones. Grandmama said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears trying out all those chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while they carried it up to the door. We sat the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandmama and Mama and I all sat in it for a while. Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks to the people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit in it with her, and she can reach right up and turn off the lights, and I fall asleep in her lap. That's Mama and the little girl and Grandma all sitting in the chair. See, and I hope you enjoyed the story of A Chair for Mother. It was interesting how they got the chair, but the one thing I got is that they saved their money. And guess what? If you save your money, maybe you can buy you something that you would like. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.